meeting to order. Chair notes there's a quorum plus present, and let's do the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to go right into the public hearing for fiscal year 2019-2020 budget and resolution number 2019-04, adopting the budget, making appropriations, and imposing taxes for fiscal year July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. So this is the time duly set and advertised for a public hearing in the matter of the Gilliam County fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. This hearing is for the purpose of receiving public comment and responding to questions regarding resolution number 2019-04, adopting the budget, making appropriations, and imposing taxes for fiscal year July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. This is a legislative hearing. All of those in attendance that wish to testify are asked to sign the attendance sheet. The hearing is now open. So, do you have anything for us? Do you want me to go right into public comment?
Right in public comment.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to testify on the budget? Anybody out there? Last call? None? Okay. Well, then I will go ahead. This hearing is hereby closed. Is there a motion on that?
Yes, I move to approve resolution 2019-04, adopting the fiscal year 2019-20 budget, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes in the amount of $61,135,935 and a tax rate of 3.845% per 1,000 of assessed value on all taxable property within the county.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 2019-04, adopting the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes in the amount of $61,135,935 and a tax rate of 3.845% for $1,000 of assessed value of all taxable property within the county. Is there further discussion?
Just a little bit.
Go for it.
Nathan and I talk about this every year, but I would like to look into, if he would choose to, the possibility of making the resolution a little less specific. As I understand it, a few years back, they made it within the funds that you could kind of lump a few of the categories together. Personal services, materials and services, and capital outlay, I believe, can be put into an organizational unit. So it just seems to me that would give us more flexibility. It would be simpler. But we've talked about it, and he. We disagree.
We disagree.
But
I also disagree. I think it's just in the general fund you can lump them together because it used to be split out.
Yes, and see, I think you can do it in all funds.
And I went and looked at other counties and found that they do it the way this is presented, but I'm willing to, talk to people and find out why.
We're going to keep talking about it. And I still, this resolution is fine.
Okay.
I just think it could be streamlined a little bit.
Something to consider maybe for next year.
Maybe. We'll keep talking. Nathan and I'll keep talking about it. Arguing about it.
Okay, is there further discussion?
No, I'm not getting in the middle of that.
Okay, well then we'll go to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. All right. We got it. We have our budget.
Go spend the money.
Okay, we're going to go into 3.0, additions and revisions to the agenda. I have two additions. 7.4 is Booster Club request for funds for graduation party. And 7.5 is a request from North Gilliam County Health District, letter for ALS and ILS services, which, let me put into the record what that is. advanced life support and intermediate life support services with reduced staffing. Are there any other additions or revisions to the agenda?
No.
No. We're good. Okay. Correspondence and public comment. I don't have any correspondence. Public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meetings. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair, give name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. Would you like to come up?
Sure.
Go ahead. Yep, come on up. Just for the record, we're on video as well, and so Mary knows if you could just state your name and address, so it's in there, and Mary's got it and can capture it in the minutes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eudora Olson. I live at 65848 Upper Rock Creek Road, Arlington, Oregon. Greetings.
Hello, welcome.
I understand that Gilliam County's mission is to provide essential public services, both legally required and locally desired, that protect and enhance the quality of life in an efficient, effective, and respectful manner. Do you all agree that this statement is something that you all feel that you should uphold?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. In a letter dated on February 2019, Judge Farrar wrote a letter to Chase McVeigh, the site analyst from the Department of Energy, regarding the Goal 3 exception for the farmland being considered for the solar component of that project. Am I correct to assume that this is regarding the goals established in 1960 by the Gilliam County Planning Commission? Is that the Goal 3 that you're talking about?
I believe,
Is it goal 3 or
No,
goal 5?
so it's goal 3 of the state's Energy Siting Council. They have a different goal 3 than our goal 3.
Okay, so it's a different one. Okay. Okay. In any case, have you received an answer back from Mr. McVeigh regarding any plans to provide an opportunity for the citizens to be involved in this phase regarding the proposal of solar energy at our end of the county?
yeah, so, and we'll get to this in the announcements, but FSEC is holding a public hearing here in Condon on this.
May 16th.
May 16th.
At
I noticed
5:30.
there was nothing on your board out there. Is someone going to post that here at the courthouse?
I certainly can.
Cool. Would you please?
Sure.
Okay, moving on. At the February 6th meeting of this year, Chase McVeigh from the Department of Energy provided a presentation to the Gilliam County Court and visitors at that meeting. This meeting was held at the Gronquist Building in Arlington. In his opening statement, he said that his presentation was to provide an overview process of the roles and responsibilities to the special advisory group, which is the Gilliam County Court. No exceptions were noted by the court, so am I correct to assume that nothing has changed in the last 3 months?
In terms of comments to them? The
No,
comments,
that he stated in the video that I saw on the
Mhm.
Gilliam County site that this court is a special advisory group to the Monty project, yeah. Okay, where can we as a public go either to read or purchase copies in this county of all the Monteith documents, either in Arlington or Condon, the county seat, so that I or anyone who desires can view them in order to be more informed, so that anyone who chooses to can make better comments to the Department of Energy at the upcoming meeting on May 16th that you referenced at Lori's Place here in Condon?
So because this has all been done through the state process, through FSEC, all those documents are with the state, so you'd have to go, I don't know if they're on their website, I would assume that they are, but you would have to contact them to get those documents,
Okay.
because they're not county.
So who do I contact to find out why one specific thing is missing?
Again, you'd have to talk to
They
them.
referred, talk to them, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
probably that same gentleman that you referenced that came to see us,
McVeigh.
Chase McVeigh,
Okay.
would be the one that you want to talk to about those.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
As Judge Farrar is aware, and by now perhaps our commissioners are aware as well, I personally hand-delivered a letter to this court on Monday. Well, not to the court, that's a lie. I gave it to him, who's
That's give me 2 points.
So to ask this board as special advisory group for the Monte Wind project, if they would impose a condition on the Monte Wind power facility that they would place the turbines where they cannot be seen or heard by the residents who reside on Upper Rock Creek Road. According to the historic standard, Oregon Administrative Rule 345-022-0090, the council may issue a site certificate that would meet our request. And I'm saying me because I'm here as a representative of my community. I invite this board to stop by our home and take a few minutes to breathe in the freshness, look at the peaceful canyons, absorb the quietness, or maybe take a Sunday drive along Rock Creek, so that you will all understand why we are all passionate about our viewshed, our pioneer cemetery where many have gone before us and have found their rest. Call ahead to my friend Myra. Perhaps she will bless you with permission to walk along the wagon trail on her slice of serenity or witness her mountain view. Come, look at the path traveled by Indians who traveled on our property to trade with this community. Come, bring your camera. Take a few memories home with you of Crum Flour Mill. We invite you to come and see the perception of what we all think as God's best hidden beauty of Gilliam County, the place we call home. Come visit Oleg's community and its people, the citizens you serve. I am hoping and praying that this court will stand by Gilliam County's mission statement to protect the quality of life in an efficient, effective, and respectful manner. By the way, I love that, what is written. I love the mission statement, it's beautiful. Anyway, so that you will, so that the backdrop of our historical community will not be forced to endure the constant audible and visual intrusion and disturbance that will forever impact our community and those who live along Rock Creek Road. On behalf of the Oleg's community, I thank you. Would you like a copy?
Yeah. Mary will need one, and I think maybe, I don't know, Sandy, you need one or not?
I have.
You've got one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dora.
Is there further public comment? Go ahead, come on up.
I'm Myra Irby. I live at Oleg, 67907 Highway 19. And I've been out of the world for 3 years, just came back. I am excited about all the windmills that are going on in the land, and our farmers are finally getting the money that they need and that they want. Believe me, if 15 years ago I'd had a windmill, I'd still had my property. And I love it. However, here I am at Oleg's, girls and boys, and I love what Gilliam County is doing. However, I do have a certain way of life in Oleg's, because I'm going to stay there, because every time I decide to move, one of my family dies or gets cancer. So I've decided I'm going to live at Oleg's, and I'll die and get cancer there. So I'm back at Oleg's. I love Gilliam County. I worked here for 14 years, love Condon. All my family went to high school. Most of my family and grandkids went to high school in Arlington. I love Arlington. I have been so fortunate because I have Arlington, I have Oleg's, and I have Condon. And we do, you know what we have in Oleg's, guys, it's wonderful. I'm not getting any compensation for my property because that's my life. I mean, that's me. However, I had a weed man for over 3 years, which I've been gone, help me with my weeds. I had the road department, Dewey Kennedy, that helped me with my roads. And I had the sheriff department looking after my property. And while I was working for Gilliam County, I had 3 knee operations and breast cancer that the Blue Cross paid for. I love Gilliam County. We're doing great. And I love what you people are doing. And you're doing well. It's a hard job. I am trying to protect my little 400 and some odd acres for me from the lights and the noise that possibly would affect me, because my property lines the baseline. In fact, I gave to the county free of charge my permission to scrape off from both sides of the baseline where you see everybody came up, when you come off of Highway 19 on the baseline, and they cleaned that up, that's my property. And I was not, the compensation I got for that was the road department will take care of my 4/5 of a mile of gravel road to my house. Okay, so I am not against anything, but I'm protecting where I'm living. And I just love you all for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Myra.
Anybody else out in the audience that would like to have public comments, or if there's something on the agenda later that you want to jump in on, we always sort of allow for that too. Okay, if not, we will move on to 5.0, the consent agenda.
Still taking I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented, which consists of consider approval of April bills pending review, consider approval of April 3rd regular meeting minutes, consider approval of April 17th regular meeting minutes, consider approval of OSU extension request for release of budgeted funds, consider approval of letter of support for Columbia Gorge Community College USDA distance learning grant. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 6.0, unfinished business. 6.1, Frontier Telenet update. Okay, so I've got some things to report. Let's see. The big things, I think, the big takeaways, and Sherry was there too, so maybe Sherry can share some of her observations.
Okay.
We had it over in the last meeting over in Sherman County last week. We decided as a board to go out to release an RFP for new telecom counsel. So that I drafted that this week, and I'm hoping to start contacting some firms to if they have a suitable candidate. We also discussed perhaps partnering with Inland Development or another company to do an independent audit of the whole system so that we have a good sort of working knowledge of what's actually where and who owns what, and that way we have a little bit clearer picture of where the assets are, who owns them, all those kinds of things. Whether there's some things that need to be cleaned up on the paperwork side of some of those assets. So I have asked Inland to put together a proposal. The board basically said they wanted to just see what Inland would bring back. Inland also happens to be one-way, the same company. And so they will be doing that during the next meeting. We approved a new budget, or new revised budget calendar. This was based on, originally we had appointed the sheriffs, and the sheriffs indicated that they thought it would be more appropriate for us to appoint lay people, and so we also appointed 3 lay people. I don't have all of them off the top of my head, but the Gilliam County person that I nominated was Catherine Greiner, who's in the back. And I think we'll have a good group. The one out of Sherman County is a caseworker. I can't remember her first name.
Sherry.
No, it's Carrie. It's a daughter-in-law. It's a daughter-in-law.
I thought it was Sherry.
I just said Sherry.
Carrie Caseberg, and then I believe it's the mayor of Mitchell is the Wheeler County person. So anyway, we will be doing the budget hearing, or the budget committee meeting on May 23rd here in Condon. And that'll be the next Frontier Telenet regular meeting as well.
Carrie Caseberg
Are
and
those
Patrick Farrell.
people I'm sorry, are
Go
those
ahead.
people in addition to the sheriffs or instead of?
Instead of.
Okay.
Yes, Carrie Caseberg, Patrick Farrell, and Catherine Brown.
And Catherine Greiner. And let's see, the other sort of thing that we did not take action on, but it was raised, was the concept of, instead of looking for a single person to do management turnaround, to actually go out and see if there's perhaps a firm or another company that might be willing to do that on our behalf. So the board may be pursuing that I'm planning on putting that on the Frontier Telenet agenda to see if there's interest in doing an RFP for that and seeing if there's someone who can help us manage some of the day-to-day stuff. And also provide maybe a second set of eyes on some of the expertise, the technical expertise side, so that we're not just solely dependent on Day Wireless to tell us what the system needs. So I think those were the high points. Anything that I missed?
Well, I did have a question, Sandy. When they were talking about where the weed abatement needed to be,
Yes,
I wrote down slat and air base, but that didn't make any sense to me.
yes, that's
Will-
correct.
Will the weed master know where those sites are when I contact him?
Yes, I believe.
Okay.
Probably would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both very highly visible.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the other thing that we brought up. Leslie, Day Wireless brought up the need for some weed abatement around some of the towers and systems. So Sherry's gonna check in with the weed department for the sites in Gilliam County to see if he can handle some of those. I think that was it. Anything else that I missed, Sherry?
I don't think so.
Okay, 6.2.
Whoa, hold up.
Oop.
Whoa, whoa, I have a question.
Never mind.
I know you're trying to get through.
No, we're good.
So you're looking for a new telecom council?
Uh-huh.
Is that to replace the existing
Yes,
telecom council?
yes.
Okay, just didn't know if we needed two for some reason.
No, the telecom council will be for Frontier Telenets, and yes, and decent.
To
overall.
actually get a contract, because there is no contract with
Correct?
With Mr.
with
Deason.
council. And so that was the issue that we were seeing, was that we need, and so then it was asked to put out an RFP.
And
And,
we
you know,
s-
decent,
We still have not seen
May of-
invoices from him
May.
for
Yeah.
about 16 months now.
yeah. And he still won't come up with them.
He was pressed on it during the meeting, and we got really nowhere with that, and so Judge Dabulskis made a motion to
He's just too
go out for a new one.
Okay.
So,
busy to bill. I don't know how he survives that.
General counsel's due to be put under contract as well.
oh yeah, the general counsel will be put under contract as well, but I don't believe we'll go out for an RFP on that one. And Anala Carey is the general counsel.
Who?
Judge Hull.
From Anala Carey?
Mhm. Okay, any more questions?
That's it, thank you.
6.2, Green Lab update, Sherry.
My 6.2. Thank you, Judge Farrar, for talking with Kathy from Wyden's office, Senator Wyden's office, to get me hooked up with someone from the EDA. And she did that. His name is Michael Mills. And he, I think I know who he is, but he did have an answer, and it was kind of jumbo speak, but I'll summarize it for you from what Peter Mitchell and I got out of it, is that although the HIP may fall under the guidelines of what
2020 Farm Bill.
right, yeah, well, of what our use is for the Green Lab building. Yeah, we aren't gonna really know for a while what, you know, the 2020 Farm Bill is going to dictate really what happens there. And so I don't believe the company that right now is interested in is gonna wanna wait for
Because
what.
the bill was passed, but they still have to write the rules
So
around
we're
it.
still kind of in a limbo there, and whether it really is going to, the HIP will fall according to what our agreement is with EDA. so.
I still think though, even if this particular company ends up finding something else, I think it's valuable to still get a ruling from EDA on that in case there's somebody else out there.
Right, yeah.
And
So we know.
especially with all the hemp testing, the testing that will need to happen. You know, maybe
Right.
there's a testing company that would be interested in that. So if we could get, at some point, feedback from the EDA on that usage, that
But
might be helpful.
didn't drop it with him. I did, tell him that we'll keep in touch and see where we need. So, I just
And
think.
maybe Wyden's office can help just kind of watch the rulemaking on that and let us know.
Well, and I think Michael Mills will continue to keep contact too, to let us know what's going on, so.
It's good to have contact.
Yeah, it was good to have contact, and he was very responsive right away. And Kathleen and I spoke with him and came up with this answer. So, yeah, I was pleased.
Fantastic.
Yeah, pleased with his response. So
Thanks for doing
we're
that.
getting something.
Yay.
Not moving
Progress.
very fast forward, but at least we have a contact.
Some progress
An
is
answer.
better than
Yeah.
that.
That's a fact.
Okay, anything else on the Grain Lab? Is that all for now?
That's it for now.
Okay, 6.3, Ardent Mills building update. Thought Jeff was gonna join us
He said he
today.
would be here at 3:30, so if you maybe would want to skip over and come back, we're going to do that. He said he would be.
We could do that.
I do have the notes of his and my conversation, but I think it would be better if he,
Is there?
yeah, and he said he was going to come. So
Okay.
I expect him in a few minutes.
I'm okay with that. Let's do, you okay with that, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay, let's do 6.4, appoint citizen to fill road committee vacancy zone 2. Leslie, do you,
Yes.
it's your road.
We, as the road commissioner, we had 4 interested parties to fill the vacant Zone 2 position that Jim Wright has recently vacated. And I'm going to move we appoint Pat Shannon to the Gilliam County Road Committee as the Zone 2 representative.
Okay. I'll second. It's been moved and seconded that we appoint Pat Shannon to the road committee, Zone 2. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that was fast.
But while we're on that topic, and because I see Les is here, Les, have you made a decision? I know we got an email from you that maybe you weren't going to continue on the road committee.
Or do you want, did you reconsider?
Just prior Leslie Rock Creek, and I'm willing to remain on the committee until you find a replacement.
Okay,
So however that works best for you, it works for me.
Thank you. Should we
So-
put it out there again?
And may I,
We'll need you because it's a
may I
different zone.
suggest one other thing? You've had 4 applicants at this point, and they all probably are from Zone 2. I'd suggest that you do need to place on record today who those other 3 are that you
I got that.
consider.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was Rob Wade, Paul Bates, and Vicki Ackerman.
And just for clarity, Vicki actually called and asked to be removed from consideration.
okay. And what zone do we have Les in? He's not the at-large, right? He's
No,
the-
it's the northwest
The
zone.
northwest zone, okay.
Which I believe is Zone 1.
So then we would want to advertise that again, I
Yes.
think. So if we can do that, that would be fantastic.
I'm supposed to do a home visit for an elderly friend here in town.
Uh-huh.
Can I be excused?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, you can come and go as much as you please.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for coming, Eudora.
Okay. Let's see here. I think we can maybe move on to 6.5. We'll just wait for Jeff to show up if you guys are okay with that. Consider approval of county general counsel proposal. Okay, so I put this out on the Times Journal. We published it for 2 weeks and it was on the county's website. And then I also, because I was anticipating that a lot of law firms may not just be randomly reading our website or the Times Journal. No offense, Mac. That I should probably just reach out directly as well. So I reached out to just about any and every municipal law firm that I could find in Eastern Oregon and in Central Oregon, and so these were the ones that came back. So we got proposals back from Bryant, Loveland, and Gervais. Let me go through these. From Timmons Law out of the Dalles. From, all of these these off the top of my head. The Local Government Law Group out of Eugene, and then from Peachy, Davis, Myers, and Dunn out of the Dalles.
Hood River.
Hood River.
Hood River, the Dalles.
Hood River, the
They're
Dalles.
both in Hood River and the Dalles.
So the two things that I want to flag for you though is that Timmons Law represents Sherman County.
Right.
So if the whole point is for us to avoid conflicts, I think that that's a problem.
Yes, I agree.
And then Mr. Peachy's firm represents Wheeler County.
Right.
So that one, for same reasons, creates a conflict, and particularly when we're talking about Frontier Telnet and other things. I think we need to have counsel that isn't conflicted.
Yes.
So,
That was our goal.
so that leaves us with the same two that we started with
Yes,
6
it
weeks
does.
ago, or whenever we did this. And so, I mean, I think both are qualified. The Bryant, Loveland, and Gervais was the one that we had originally started to go down the path of hiring. They're closer to us.
They're cheaper.
And they are, yeah,
Less expensive.
less expensive. So, but I think we would be well served by either.
Well,
So,
definitely, yeah.
um,
I think my only thinking was, the closer the better.
Well, and the other group said in their proposal that they didn't, that they wouldn't be able to come to
Right.
all the meetings we wanted them to come to.
and the thing is, I think with council, what I'd like us to start moving towards is really being selective about when we actually need council in the room and when we can call them.
Right.
There's obviously some maybe negotiations where it makes sense to have them here, but for the most part, if we can conduct most of the business either by phone or just having Sandy and I check in with council prior to the meeting if there are questions or things that we need clarity on, doing it that way.
Less expensive.
So is there a motion to accept one of these proposals?
Yes.
Judge Farrar,
Uh-huh.
would you entertain the ability for public comment before you proceed on
Of-
making a decision?
Of course.
I wasn't quite sure whether.
We always like public.
No, we're
comment.
just plowing ahead, Les. No. Come on up.
Always welcome public comment.
For the record, Mr. York, Rock Creek. First off, I want to indicate to you, Liz, or excuse me, Judge Farrar, that I totally agree with the planned use that you're thinking of. I've often thought of the previous legal counsel as actually being a fourth member of the court when they're here in person as often as they have been. And there's some positives to that, and there's also what I think some perhaps negatives to it. So the first thing I wanted to put on record is just my observation of the use of legal counsel is that you do need to have a planned use or an agreed upon format for how you're going to be using legal counsel going forward. And I think what your suggestion is that you're going to be, that's what you're looking at doing. So I'd like to chime in agreement with that. And along with that, I also think you might want to put in place some sort of work plan, I guess you could call it, that would look down the road for a year's time as to how you want to prioritize the use of your legal counsel. And that, to some degree, can't be set in concrete because issues and matters come up that you have no idea are going to come up or that, get extenuated from what's already on the table. But my suggestion would be that you look at a longer-term work plan that you can agree upon as a county court for the use of legal counsel. Yeah, because that's it also.
Then the other observation I wanted to make was that I'm aware of the law firms that you've come down to on the two that are being considered. The one that is in Bend, obviously, the distance is a good factor to keep in mind. The previous, one of the founders of that law firm served for a number of years in the state senate, and also chaired the
both the former State Board of Higher Education and existing, I think he remains the chair of the existing Higher Education Coordinating Commission. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of history to that firm been. I don't know how much local government, or that is county jurisdictions, that experience they have, but I think it would be well served, as you've indicated here, by that firm and the firm in Eugene. The one in Eugene, I think, is more Willamette Valley oriented. It seems to me, I'm not quite so sure. And the one in Bend obviously has that Central Oregon perspective. I'm not so sure, but my only concern would be how much of Eastern Oregon perspective is involved there. And I bring that perspective up to play here a little bit, because it's one, as you've probably found out in looking at all of the various legal counsels that are out there, there are a few in Eastern Oregon that specialize in local government matters. But I guess what I'd like to just make sure to mention here is that that's going to be important going forward, not so much because of the pure legal expertise or experience involved, as much as the politics, to get right down to it. But, legal counsel is going to have a lot to say, politically speaking, about various matters that come before you and that you deal with, more so than you might think of right off the bat. I think you might want to keep that in mind going forward. That's essentially what I wanted to offer. But I appreciate the effort you've gone through, and I know that, looking back over the last several court meetings, that this has come up. And I do want to say, in closing here, that I believe the court's been well served by Reuben and over the years, and I was kind of sad to see him withdraw versus maybe having withdrawn from some of the other entities.
Yeah, we would have hoped for that.
He wouldn't have had to have withdrawn from where he is now. Be that as it is, where he is, I think you can still probably count on that we're going to be able to draw upon his knowledge and wisdom going forward.
I think so.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Les.
Les.
Okay,
You ready?
Said.
You want to make a motion?
I do.
Okay.
I move to select the firm of Bryant, Loveling, and Jarvis to provide legal services for the county and to approve the agreement as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we select the firm of Bryant, Loveland, and Gervais to provide legal services for the county and to approve the agreement as presented. No further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, since we have Mr. Shaw in the room, we're going to go back up to 6.3, Art Mills Building Update. And I'll let Sharon and Jeff run the show on this.
Doesn't look lit up.
Is it on?
I don't know, is it on?
It's not green.
Okay, does it need to be on? Go ahead.
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead. Please.
So my understanding is the Art Mills building, there's a couple of issues. One of them is that we've had an ongoing issue with some roof leaks. I haven't been down there, but I understand Nan found another roof leak that needs to be addressed. We did an inspection last fall, there was some repairs made. I don't know what the status is of this one. And then the back steps are chipping off again, apparently. That was part of a repair that was done in the fall of 2017. So a little bit of an issue with that. I haven't gone down and taken a look at it. I plan on going down on Friday, if it's all right, to take a look at it. I think that would coincide with some other things.
Did
As
you
far
check
as
with Nan, because they aren't open on Fridays?
I have not checked with them yet.
They're
so
closed on Fridays,
all
so
right.
you
It's probably
probably check and
it's a
see
good
if
point.
Nan's available.
All right. Well, in the next week, we'll get down there. I guess
partly how do you want, I need some direction from the court on how to handle this. I have an agreement still in place from 2016 or 17, I think, for doing the floor repair down there. So that agreement was for like $16,500, and we did some of the roof repair stuff on it last summer. I think the last invoice we had spent less than $10,000. So there was still $5,000 or $6,000 in that budget. So I guess the question is, do you want me to submit a different proposal to the county to pursue looking at this, or do you want me to just continue as a change in scope under that agreement we had in place for 2016 or 17? It must have been 2016.
So I would suggest new, so that we can get into the current budget.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, so I'll submit a budget for, it'd just be a time and materials budget to try to identify what's going on there and manage what repairs need to be taken care of on that.
Okay,
And I will try to get that to you before the end of the week.
that would be
Okay.
great. And then we
Right.
could take it up during the next.
Okay. And if it's all right, I'll probably go ahead and just, if it works out next week, to go down there and some other.
Yeah, let me know, I'd like to
Go there.
walk through too.
Okay, great. No
Sure.
problem.
Okay.
Super.
That's what I have.
Is that all you need?
Thank you.
That's all I
Yeah.
need.
Perfect.
And then I'll be back again for the
Yeah.
discussion. Okay?
Okay.
Which I don't, we might
We'd
fly
like-
through, so I don't know how long it'll be.
It'll only be, yeah, don't run away too
So
far.
it's worth hanging out.
We're quick.
I'll hang out. Okay.
Depends on how, yeah, how interested you are in telecom discussions.
I'll listen.
Okay, 6.6, consider approval of county telecom council proposal. So, as a reminder, telecom councils are very difficult to find that do not have conflicts with some of our partners in the
Because there are
region.
very few of them.
There's like a half dozen of them apparently, and they're all conflicted. So, I did get a proposal from Christy, and I don't know how she says her last name, but Monson is what I've been going with, from Local Government Law Group in Eugene. They were the firm that we did not select for, but she does do some telecom counsel. She can help with IRUs, which are basically like long-term leases of fiber and those kinds of things. And I also just kind of spoke with her about some of our Frontier Telenet needs potentially. So I think, sort of in full disclosure, my hunch is that there may be some things that are above what she feels comfortable with, but she did tell me that she knows other telecom attorneys, that if we need something more specialized than what she has, and particularly with Frontier Telenet, if we end up needing to unwind that or something, that she can help us identify a suitable person to handle that if we get something that's over and above. But I feel fairly confident that, for instance, subleasing our fibers and things like that, that she would be able to draw up the legal documents that we need for those kinds of things. So my recommendation would be that we accept the proposal from them. And that way, it would be very helpful. I'll talk in my court report, but I think my suggestion is we're gonna begin discussions with the city about partnerships on managing the fiber lines when they come in, and so it would ease me to have somebody else that knows what we need to actually be doing and things, rather than me trying to muddle through it on my own. So that would be my recommendation.
I move we accept the proposal from Local Government Law Group for telecommunications legal services.
And I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the proposal from Local Government Law Group for telecommunications legal services. Is there further discussion?
I still don't like their acronym though.
I know, it's a long one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. And I will, she didn't actually include a contract in this, and so probably what I will do is ask her to submit one, and we will likely just put it on the consent agenda unless it looks like anything that might be an issue. So I will follow up and have that on the consent agenda for next time.
Sounds good.
Okay, moving on to new business. 7.1, consider approval of authorization to consolidate Shetler Station tax lots. Okay, so Michelle wrote us a briefing on this, but basically, when they were doing the, what is that called, the holding pond?
Runoff pond.
The runoff pond. They started the process of making that piece part of the industrial park tax lots, and it never got through to completion. So this is basically a cleanup so that the assessor and everybody can get the maps so that they're actually showing it how it actually needs to be, one tax lot. So,
Actually a housekeeping.
it's just a housekeeping thing. It was originally on the consent agenda, but I actually wanted to make sure the motion language is in the minutes in case future courts wonder what we did here, so. Do you want me to make it? I'll make it.
Yeah, whenever the assessor's involved, I would like to back off a little bit.
Okay. I move to approve the tax lot consolidation request between tax lot 1104 and 4917 to consolidate all of the Shetler Station land.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the tax lot consolidation request between tax lot 1104 and 4917 to consolidate all of the Shetler Station land. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 7.2, Arlington TV Co-op project update and request for loan modification. Come on up, guys.
Thank you all for coming.
Do we need more chairs?
I don't know.
I think
Get
we
more
might.
chairs.
We got one center. We should all sit over there.
You can sit in the jury box.
Oh, we're okay.
I'm a paramedic, I've never been on a jury. You're a paramedic, you're out of here.
Really?
I didn't realize that was a disqualifying.
Apparently, they think that we already have our minds made up about.
Too close of a connection with the office. Yeah, be careful.
That's the relaxing jurist.
So just to tee things off,
Yes.
my understanding is that the ask for today is that we take a look at the loan and modifying the payment schedule. Is that
Yes, correct.
what we're after? Okay. So why don't you give us an update, kind of, would it be helpful for the commissioners if we just kind of got an update on where they are with the project?
Yeah, that would be
And-
great.
Okay. Take it away.
So basically, we started putting this together in 2015, and we brought earlier than that, we brought a business plan that was updated in 2017. It's 2 years later, and so we are at the point where we are hooking up people. You actually have someone with the service there.
Two.
Two? Oh, that's right.
Service.
Well, first, before,
And a Facebook.
do you like it? Is it fast enough for you?
Yeah.
I like
Yes.
it.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
make sure you
great.
write that down. It's good. It's awesome.
It's on camera too.
So we are hooking people up. We are running into some problems with getting enough customers signed up, and it simply comes down to a time factor. Currently, we have 112 people signed up for all of our services combined, and we are, as quickly as we can, installing for more people. Each installation takes about 5 to 8 hours, depending on what the situation is. And we have John. And John has 3 helpers that volunteer. Well, I was doing paid and then down.
Oh, okay.
So John gets paid and his volunteer helpers don't. And so we are going as quickly as we can to get more people installed. I don't think it's a disinterest in the service. Shannon tells me we're having difficulty making contact and, hey, we've got some openings. Oh gosh, that's a bad day, or I have to, talk to somebody first. And so we're running into those problems. So we're currently behind where we thought we would be. The internet portion is up, it works great, and as we get people installed, they are loving the service. We can speak a little bit more to numbers.
I think that would be, like, I'm interested in hearing, so you said you're at 112 is what's hooked up, is that what I?
Yes.
And then, so when you did your business plan, kind of what's that break even? How far are you from? It's okay. I mean, I think it's give it to us straight, sort of on what you think.
I think you were saying 260.
260, okay.
Yeah, and, you know, just like any other thing, especially high tech, you know, over this 4-year period from 2015, technology increases rapidly, but so do costs, and so do some unforeseen things. And so, yeah, we aren't quite there. But we are installing as quickly as we can. We're just running into some problems with, we can't get to a break even if we're going to keep putting money out. And so we're trying to kind of fix us on a temporary basis, so we'll have a little bit of extra time to get those people installed so we can hit that break even. And it will be a little bit more comfortable for our service.
What's your marketing campaign? Do you have a marketing campaign to really, because we have a lot of people moving in, you know, and.
Where are they? I'm sorry, that was.
You've hooked up
Yeah,
with
hooked them
people.
up.
Is it the old people we need to, and I put that as in.
Tenured, they're tenured.
Yeah, not us.
So, well, honestly, my point of view, I think our marketing, there isn't a, this is the marketing plan, because Condon, or correction, Arlington is just, these are the people that live here. There isn't a lot of extra housing for, you know, new influxes. So the people that live in Arlington, there is a challenge getting interest in some people, and some of them are older people. And the big question with the service is, well, why do I need that? I'm happy with this, I'm happy with that. The scary thing about internet is you don't know what you need until you actually get to experience something.
So how can you get the word out?
My mind is just
word of mouth
trying
helps
to.
a lot.
It does.
Just hooking people up, they spread the
I put a
word.
Facebook post on your webpage yesterday, your Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Oh, I didn't see that.
We are working with Bet Construction as they're building houses up in
I was
subdivision.
gonna ask that too.
And he stopped by, says he's having an open house on the 11th. And we're almost complete with our installation to him. We just gotta pull the fiber up. And so we'll have our system in there when he does his open house.
So
Yeah,
is the issue, like, is the issue the delay just in getting, like, do you have people who are on a waiting list right now that it's just,
Yes.
it takes time
Yes.
to get to? And do you have a sense, like, how, do you know roughly how many people? I'm just curious what the gap is in terms on the marketing side between what you've got waiting in the, sort of in the queue, and then where, the difference between that and like the 260 figure that is kind of your break-even point. Do you have a sense of how many people are in the queue? And
No.
waiting?
And the problem is our working list is, initially we put out a flyer saying, are you interested? Yeah. Are you interested? Which of the services would you be interested in? And we built out, whoa.
Watch out for those
It
two.
doesn't have a, it's like,
It'll buck you off.
I'm not a rodeo guy. But, so from those cards, we made a list of who's interested. And the people that were very, very interested, or were lucky enough to live in that first, path, they are hooked up, and we trust in a lot of word of mouth of those people. I was one of the first hooked up, even before I was on this board. And I'm preaching it everywhere. Internet's awesome. The problem we're running into is, as Shannon starts calling these people, well, I don't know, that's a bad weekend, I don't know if we can do it right now. And so we're running into a lot of that, and it's not a I don't want it, it's, well, and I think maybe a little bit of marketing would be advantageous, or an open house where we actually show people, because until you see the difference in 3 megs and 50 megs, you just don't, why? My Facebook works, my email works, yeah, but look what you could be doing. I think that will go a long way.
Is the library hooked? You guys,
Yes.
I mean, that might be a good sort of venue for people to be able to see and even test it themselves.
Yes.
And
that's the best way to do it. Put hands on. I mean, you can hear, well, you can stream this, or your kids can play these video games, or, but until you actually see the difference.
We've had people also that have a business out of their home, which they need the high-speed internet, and they're thrilled. But there's also a large population of the elderly that just don't understand the difference between 3 or 4 and 50.
I had someone ask, why doesn't it make noise on my phone anymore? Wow, that's quite a long time ago. I don't know. But, I mean, we have some of the
Maybe make the
major.
property value argument or something that, I mean, property value, if you have a hookup to fiber, that does definitely make your
Yeah.
property more valuable.
If you've got
Maybe-
kids, the argument is you will be able to use the internet even when they're on their computer
Yeah.
or their video game.
I was just going to mention too that I've been on the board about 3 years, and John used to work out at my garage, kind of for our TV co-op. And I've always believed when this was started, it wasn't about how much money can we make. It's always been about what can we do to help Gilliam County, what can we do to help our community, what can we bring in that'll help population growth, because we all recognize that population growth is critical. And fiber optic is an important factor. And I know some of the people that have moved into the community, they're thrilled to have what they consider to be state-of-the-art that they didn't have where they moved from. And so they're here now. And so, yeah, it's cost us more money than what we realized. There's some holdups. It's frustrating to find that some of the things that were supposed to be done a certain way weren't, and we have to repair that. But we keep plugging along, and we keep doing it for the goals of helping the city and helping the county. My thrill in life is to look at somebody after we hook it up and see their smiling face that they love what they got.
Yeah, that's the whole mission of Arlington TV Co-op when it started in 1954.
55.
Well, yes,
Well, it's.
54,
yeah.
55.
So
We
when
incorporated.
somebody from here, we see you as our partner here. We see that you want the same thing we want. So yeah, we're gonna need your help to make this. We're gonna keep plugging along because this can't fail.
No.
It can't fail.
Can you give us an update on the TV side of things?
TV side of things. When we started the project, we were looking at a Quorum system, and so that's what we based everything off of. As we got into it, we learned that it's very expensive. There's lots of fees and licenses and all that. And that the major companies, the major television companies, were going away from that to an IP system. So we started looking at that. We have a company that is very reasonable on their costs, we feel, better than most of them we found. They're small group, but they're out of South Dakota, I think. And so we've been working with them. We did come up to a roadblock as to, we have this much money, we could buy all the equipment we need, but then we only have a month or two to run on.
Right.
So that didn't seem like the thing to do. And so we've kind of been holding off on that. And then I recently started looking at Easy Video, which is a service that Condon Home Telephone's doing. And I checked with them. It's a nice little product. I think it would do what people want, but we have to have transport out of the Piddock building. So we contacted Windwave, we got an estimate back.
That estimate is, our monthly recurring charge would be $4,800, and the installation in the Piddock building would be $6,500 on top of that.
And we still have to we're still responsible for the interconnect.
And that's regardless of how many people, it's not based on number of people.
Right.
So that transport fee is not realistic for us to make any money off of it, because the money we would make per subscriber is $8, $10 to $8, unless we can upsell them to more hours on their DVR or something like that, and we make an extra $10. So I think we're back to going with the IPTV situation. which means, you know, we will be asking for some money in the next round of grants, I think. Unless we can find somebody that can write a grant for us and get it somewhere else. We haven't had much luck with that either. Since we don't have that C3 at the end, you know, it's just,
Right.
the C12 doesn't do it.
I think the service we're performing is phenomenal for the people. I mean, just the value-added things of installation alone. My daughter moved into an apartment. She paid $90 for Comcast to come out and put it in her apartment. We do all of that as part of the package. You know, these are things that are value-added that customers don't realize, but it's the right thing to do because we're doing this for the community. Our service is really important. Just a lot of people don't understand it. I think what we're asking for, I don't think it's exorbitant. It will definitely help Arlington. We hope it will start helping the county overall, and maybe when we get to a certain point, we can expand and help other communities. It would be a great thing to be able to do that.
So what we're looking at today is your first loan payment, which is due June 1st. And-
Yes.
And how far out did you want to?
We didn't put a specific number, but what would be perfect would be 12 months. But we would be happy to pay the interest at that point. But I think, do you have a number?
12 months sounds good to me.
We could start with 12 months and we can pay the interest in June, but pushing the balance of the payment back 12 months. So essentially it would push everything back 12. That would be really helpful. Like John was saying, there are just costs that even if the companies that we're dealing with have full disclosure, there are things that are truly unforeseeable, you know, and maybe if we had a telecom lawyer, we could figure this out. But
We
you
just
know,
got one.
I know, hey, we'll share next time. But, you know, the service it's an awesome service, that everything that people would expect out of fast internet is there. We provide a great service. Our staff is phenomenal. Our board's excited, and we want to keep doing a great job for the community and the county. And we really like your help in being able to do that.
I want to mention just one other thing. To me, it means something, and that is that my brother-in-law, John's brother, David Nyes, out of Astoria, Warrenton, volunteers his computer expertise to help out in a lot of ways. A lot of hours
Yes.
working at it,
And
and that's all free.
He's been working it pretty hard. I go into the office and I go in the server room and the computer there's lit up. I know he's working on it. So he's working on it in the morning. He'll call me up about the time I'm thinking, well, I should go home. He'll call me up. We'll be there another couple hours. But we do have our hotspot going. We've got it going down at the Happy Canyon right now, and we're planning on expanding it out to the airport and both RV parks, and get that out there. And that's a pay spot, so people can sign up for a day, a week, a month.
Do you think you'll be able to pay this in a year? We always hope so.
You want honesty, I would say no. I mean, we're not going to solve all the problems and help you get a lot more people hooked up. And it's just flat out going to take time.
I think part of we're running off from limited funds, as you know. In order to get our TV site going, we need the majority of those funds. We still need our operating expenses. One way we can get more installs that we've come across has been a huge issue is we have not found a qualified technician to dispatch, whether it's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. So even if I had 25 customers lined up, I do not have that person to get those connections on a full-time basis. We put out monster resume online looking for people. You know, we've looked in our community for someone. It's just difficult for us to find a balance of, you know, we can get some appointments made. John and Mark go out typically every Wednesday and Thursday. The other volunteer is my husband Jesse, so we try to go out. We're going to be back out on the weekends ourselves. And I opened up on our Facebook page that we're taking limited weekend appointments, because I have talked to some people. I said, well, can you do weekends? So I said, well, I can do most of them, you know, and they ask, well, how long will it take? And I give them about the time frame, and it really throws people off. And I try to explain to people, you know, well, we have to start from the inside, or from the outside, we have to run it all the way inside, we have to go under your house, through your attic, and I try to tell them what we need to do. And I also try to explain to them, you know, we're giving you a time that we will be there. Unlike district direct, we'll be there between 9 and 5 or 9 and noon, and they get there at noon, they start at 12 o'clock, they don't leave your house until 5 or 8 o'clock at night. We know when we'll be there. I'm sorry, I can't give you the precise time we'll be out, because we want to do the best job we can, the most efficient job, you know.
What about grant possibilities? Is there any assistance that we know of that
I mean,
can direct them in a?
There's federal grants through the USDA, and I do not know if they would qualify. We would need to check in with probably Merkley's office about that.
Perhaps also business Oregon. More of a size, but we have two.
Yeah, Business Oregon perhaps might have some potential resources.
We definitely would entertain, you know, looking outside also. So that's not the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, just need to find the source.
Because I do think, I mean, look, the county previous courts have made significant investments in this. I think it's in the people we represent's best interest that we try to make sure that that investment succeeds.
Definitely.
So I am definitely open to revising the promissory note, and
I think we just need to go to council and find out what we need to do.
To do it, yeah. So probably, I mean, if you guys are comfortable with looking at are we thinking a 1-year extension for the payback?
Does that just push everything back 1 year?
Yes.
Just push it back.
So rather than do 9, it would still be the 10 payments. We would just push it back by a year, basically. And then if you're okay with that, I think we can do that for now by consensus until we get a revised promissory back to actually approve.
I would say it'd be better if we had a motion laying out what the change you want is.
Is there a reason we have to do that, though? Because we will do that when the promissory note comes back.
I think
Well,
before we make a motion, that we need council to, hear what the proposal is and let us know if that's really
Doable?
Yeah, or if we need to read.
I think we're okay with that.
Document or-
I think if there's consensus that we can, so what we're looking at is the payments. Borrower will make annual installments. The first installment will be paid on or before June 1st, 2020. And then, let me see where else there's.
I think that's the only place there's a date. I think so too.
Because it probably says somewhere in here the number of payments.
I
Actually,
think
it just says
until it's
of
paid.
not less than. Okay. So that, I think that's, if everybody's in consensus, then I think that's what we'll do. We need to go to our council and just have the council take a look and make sure that we, but I think the consensus is that we would be definitely open. And then depending on how quickly, because we just, as you heard, just hired new council, depending on how quickly we get them up and running, that we would probably try to put this back on the agenda for our next May meeting. If that is amenable.
So you don't
to
have
you
to go
guys.
sell your bike, get the money.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking while they were talking about marketing, I thought, well, maybe what you need to do is come up with little lawn signs that go into yards that say like, I have faster internet than you do, or so, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I like that.
And then everybody that has it, you just have to install it.
Okay, I'm
Great
gonna put some
idea.
signs.
I just thought it might be interesting, maybe people in the community don't realize how many of their neighbors actually have it and that it's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, I don't know why,
See,
but I know that you did.
That's good, because, you know, the little blue address signs we have in Arlington, we had a few out, but as soon as we started putting more,
Yep.
See, everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses.
oh,
That's
yeah.
Right. Just an idea.
The Joneses have internet, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost all.
Any other questions for this bunch, or are we ready to move on?
Thank you for
Okay,
coming.
so, yeah, and I'll be in touch, we'll circle back with our council, and then I'll be back in touch if there's any problems with it. But otherwise, I think we'll probably just bring it back before the court during the next meeting.
Is this one we had five?
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm anxious to get my new sign. It's right by my 300 sign.
You'll be one of the first.
Did you, yeah.
I'm sure I will be.
Did you want me to just stay here for the next part?
So we're gonna do courthouse
Okay.
roof repairs, and then we've got a few others, but if you wanna stick
Oh, yeah, I'm
around
gonna stay here for you.
for your one, that would be great. Okay,
We're going to make that the next guy.
Mr. Shaw, let's do 7.3, discuss courthouse roof repair.
So some background on the courthouse and the roof. So the existing roof on the courthouse was put on in 1995 by Brown Roofing, and I think it was after the hailstorm of 94, 95, is what I suspect. So it must have been the winter of 2016-17, there were some roof leaks over in this part of the building over the east of the courtroom. So we went up and I submitted a proposal to do, which is here, to manage the replacement of the roof. But it was done late in the year, and so we decided to put it off for a year. But in the process, when I originally did it, I was under the impression that the existing roof was not insulated. And so then, when the ESD building was getting a roof put on it, I came over with roofers from the ESD building. And we cut a hole in the roof. We discovered there's an 1.5 inches of polyisocyanurate insulation up there, which is typical roofing insulation. And then there's a fiberboard on top of that, and then there's what's called a torch down roof. And so we didn't really do anything with it, and I don't think that the roof has really caused any problems since that time. So Daryl asked me where we are on the project. We need to get it going again. So I went up earlier this week, I guess late last week, and looked at the roof. We go back. In between then, when we were talking about replacing the roof, I had thought about putting on an extra piece of insulation over the roof, because the current code, we would effectively put 3 to 3.5 inches of insulation on the roof. And we talked about using a membrane roof, which is basically a thick plastic sheet, which most of the new roofs that we put on are membrane roofs. Although we've replaced some of those as well. So I had gotten some proposals from a contractor, and I failed to bring those today. I think
we've got them.
You probably have them. Some kind of budget numbers to replace those roofs. One of them was to put 1.5 inches of insulation over the existing roof with a membrane on top of that, and I think that was like $116,000. And then one was to do a complete tear off and then put 3 or 3.5 inches of new insulation on and a membrane roof. It was like 170.
82, I think.
Was it 182, 170? It was under 200,000, but not much. So, and I was also concerned because there's a couple of antennas on the roof. There's one big one back there that I was concerned about the capacity of the roof and the roof. So, anyway, bringing it up today, I went and looked at it, and I was looking at the roof, and I'm like, I am not a roof expert by training. I mean, I can tell when things are really bad, but like this roof doesn't look that bad to me. And the 1.5 inches of insulation, I question about if you were to add insulation, whether there would be any payback for it in this building because of all the other non-insulation issues that you have in it. So what I've done so far on it was to have an appointment with Brown Roofing to put the roof on initially back in 1995, and they're going to do an inspection of the roof on Tuesday. And then I talked to them about the roof that what type of roof to replace it with and different options for it. And one of them that we could do is to just overlay this roof, and we can do this one time, overlay this roof with essentially the same type, if it's bad, the same type of roofing that's on there right now, and torch it down. And the reality is this roof's been on there for upwards of 24, 25 years. It's worked pretty well. We have a drain issue. There was a drain issue because the drain was plugged up. But other than that, it's actually not performed badly. Put it in perspective, the ESD, we replaced the roof on that 2 years ago, and it was on there for 10 years. So there's some good things to be said about the torch down roofs, even though they're not in vogue today. So before we make a decision about which way to move forward with the roof or do much more design work or anything on it, I think we should get the roof inspection and see what happens there before we put an RFP out. If part of the issue too is what the threshold is for that. You know, any roof repair we're going to have to do, we're going to put out. If we think it's going to be less than $100,000, and it goes out as an intermediate procurement, so that means that we don't have to.
Is it 100 or 150?
For contracts, it's for construction. It's 100. Other stuff is 150. I checked that this morning for that reason. So I can send you the way around it. But if it's over that, we have to do the full bid on it, which, I mean, it can be done, it just takes more time to do it. And I don't think, based on the performance of the last 2 years, I don't think there's a real pushing, we don't have an immediate problem. So, and then as far as the structure goes on the roof, I looked at the antenna, I don't think that's really that much of an issue. We can add a bit more weight to the building per the current code. Because it's a concrete roof, it's so heavy, we're allowed to add up to 5% of the original weight of the roof, which works out to be that we could add about 3.5 pounds to the roof above and beyond what was there. The 1995 project was a complete tear-off, so there was no net gain. We did add the sprinkler system, which was probably about a 1 pound per square foot gain in the building. So we have some space to add a little bit more weight to the roof before we have to do any real analysis on it. And we really don't want to do any real analysis on it because it's difficult to make that work by calculation of all the buildings in our experience using contemporary codes.
Okay.
So,
I also want to check in with Dave Wireless and see what things on the roof may go away once we're connected to fiber. I don't know if anything will, but.
I think the big antenna, the tall one, I believe, is associated with emergency services. So I suspect it will stay.
Okay.
So you have any questions about where we're at?
So we're in holding there.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
When I read through the proposal, my first question was, and I guess, excuse me, on a project like this, I just wonder, do we need project management? I mean, it's just an expense that we need to, consider. And the second question I had on putting out an RFP, is that something that we have any staff, like maybe our chief of staff, that could handle that process?
I mean, I suppose there's some potential. I think what I would feel leery about is knowing what to ask for in an RFP.
Well, and do you think that roofing companies could assist with that? Or do you have anybody on staff that's, I don't know, our roadmaster or? I mean, I don't know. It's just a question that it's an expense. And, a lot of entities like, I think the city of Condon, I know they do projects frequently and sometimes go it on their own. And I just didn't know if this was one of those times where that was a possibility.
Good question.
I don't know.
That's something we can think about, I guess.
I hadn't thought of it, yeah. I think it might be helpful for us, though, before we dig in too far, is to even know what the need is. Because Brown could show up on Tuesday and say, actually, this is fine.
Yeah, you're okay for a while.
I mean, I don't know.
You got 5 more years?
We don't know what that is going to look like, really.
Okay.
So maybe that's a discussion to see what Brown actually says is needed. Because I would say, depending on the complexity of it, project management might be necessary. Because I Otherwise, it's going, realistically, it will be me that manages the project, is what I'm saying.
Or you, as I say, I'm pretty confident in your capabilities. I think she's.
Yeah, you could be the project manager if
Oh
you
my
want.
goodness. I don't
So
know
just a
about
question,
groups,
just a
so
question.
I'm not managing anything.
So,
I think, let's see what Brown has to
I
say.
think the takeaway is, let's see what
Okay.
happens on Tuesday. And then
Okay.
based on what they say, we'll go from there on
Okay.
project management, on what happens next.
Thank you.
Sounds suitable?
Right. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Fantastic, thanks for coming, Jeff.
Thanks for waiting.
Oh, there was another thought that I had too that I forgot
About
about was
this?
oh, yes, about this, but you know,
Before you leave.
in talking about roofs, you know, someone mentioned to me this morning that, you know, the Arlington High School, reminded me that the Arlington High School just, you know, went through this process, so they maybe could be a resource for us too, if we wanted to just gather some information.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool, okay, got it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, 7.4, Booster Club request for funds for graduation party. So this was kind of a late addition. But the Booster Club in Condon is hosting a drug and alcohol-free graduation party and asked for donations. We have a line item in the court budget for, I believe it's called, what, juvenile activity?
Youth activities.
Youth activities. That has about 10,000 in it that we have not expended anything out of. So my question for you today, I didn't want to just say yes, cut a check, because we really didn't budget that, is whether we have an interest in contributing. And if so, I had Ellen and Dawn went through to see what previous courts have donated. They haven't, I don't think they've had the graduation party for a little while, or at least they haven't asked us for contributions since 2015. But it looks like they pretty consistently gave $200.
Right.
So that's my question. Is there an interest in us contributing? And if so, are we comfortable with that 200?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Do we, I think we probably want to make a motion.
I move we donate $200 to the Condon High School Class of 2019 Drug and Alcohol-Free Graduation Party.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we donate $200 to the Condon High School Class of 2019 Drug and Alcohol-Free Graduation Party. Is there further discussion?
Can we just add the line item in the motion?
Out of the line, the youth activities line item.
Okay.
Is there further discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Carries. Okay. 7.5, North Gilliam County Health District letter for advanced life support and intermediate life support services with reduced staffing.
Hello again.
Hello.
I'm much more charming as a paramedic. So.
Take off one hat, put on
That's it.
another.
Okay, so basically, this is just a reissuance, maybe is the term. In the past, the court has issued this letter. Basically, the state of Oregon, in their ORS, they have a statement that says you have to have at least 2 EMTs or above in the ambulance if you're going to do ILS, intermediate, or ALS, advanced life support procedures. This could be something as simple as starting an IV, pushing a medication that would turn off narcotics, things like that. And these are, to myself, certainly, and my intermediates, these are basic, these have to get done kind of things. In the ORS, there's also an allowance for variance. So as long as the county court or the county leadership and our medical director say, yes, we're aware of it, and yes, we understand that, and we don't have a problem with it, we will be able to still perform those procedures and not have to have a second EMT. And so we run into this situation a lot because we, unlike Condon, which is kind of an island, we have real problems getting EMTs that stay there. And so right now, we've got 3 EMTs, 2 of those are intermediates, and myself. The rest are either EMRs, which is below an EMT, or just EMS drivers. And so we run into the problem a lot. So technically, even if a 25-year paramedic is transporting you to the hospital, by Oregon law, I can't start an IV on you. And that's not cool.
Yeah.
And so all I'm asking for is a reissuance of a letter basically stating that, and I've talked to Sandy and I can send you the language.
Okay.
But I wanted to give you the request and be here if you had any questions.
I don't have any questions. And I think we can do it actually by consensus. So if you guys are okay with that, we'll just have Sandy and Dave coordinate, and I'll sign it.
Sounds
On
good.
behalf of the
Okay.
board.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all we
Thank
need.
you.
Thanks. Okay, let's go on to 8.0, court member reports. Leslie, you want to start us off?
Okay, I didn't have much to report, but then today I came and I met with, after the last county court meeting when we were talking about some things that the North Central Public Health District was planning for Wasco County, and Gary piped up from the crowd, and then we decided we needed to talk some more, so we got together. We got together today at lunch, and Holly was there, and also Mike from the clinic, and we just talked a little bit about the possibility of looking into our public health arrangement, and whether or not it could be something that Gilliam County could do on our own, instead of being with the North Central Public Health District, which is Sherman County, Wasco County, and our county. And I think a couple of the concerns are, we're not exactly sure what we're getting for our money. You know, we're putting in a pretty good chunk of money, and we're just not exactly sure how much we're getting for that. And then another concern is just that what I'm hearing from this group especially is that whether or not we're getting adequate services. Being as remote as we are, I mean, I think a lot of the services, I think the Public Health District does a great job, but I think a lot of it is just centered in Wasco County. We're a little far out, and we're just curious of whether or not we're getting what we need. So we just think it was maybe worth looking into. And but like Holly mentioned, you know, it is a lot of work, and I think that the health district here in Condon would be willing to do some of this work, like maybe a feasibility study to look into the possibilities. Because I ask questions like, well, how much is this going to be more than what our contribution is now, or is it going to be, you know, within the amount that, you know, I just have money concerns all the time. But they didn't. If they wanted just a little bit of a feeling from the court of whether or not we would be interested in hearing more about it, or if we are just perfectly good with the North Central Public Health District arrangement and we don't even want to, you know, consider that. And I said, well, I'll bring it up. I said, maybe everybody can think about it, and we can talk about it again.
I mean, I'm certainly open to it. I think if, particularly if it's county money and we can reinvest it in our health districts here and support them, that might make sense. I don't know the history of why originally previous courts decided, so there may be a reason behind why they partnered the way they did. And so I guess I would want to know a little bit more about that history, but
And
I'm
you know,
certainly open to it.
another thing that was discussed is, you know, maybe we need to have a conversation too with the North Central Public Health District and say that we have some concerns, and this is something that is being discussed in our community, you know, something that they're bringing up as a possibility, and, you know, maybe we should have Terry out. I'm not sure of the next steps, other than just I wanted you guys to start thinking about this possibility, and maybe talking with our health districts and Gary a little bit and seeing what they have to say.
Steve, did you have something?
Yeah, we aren't getting our money's worth.
Okay.
We just aren't. And Holly and I have talked in the past about this, and it's certainly something that I think the North End would support. I'd have to talk to my board because Mark is on my board, and he's just hearing about it right now, which is uncomfortable. But we definitely would be interested, simply because we would have a little bit more ownership and some say in what's done.
I was hurt I wasn't invited to lunch.
I'm sorry. And when I
was
saw
even-
you,
I
and
was
then I
even
came
in
out,
town.
I saw your rig there, and I thought, oh.
We talked a lot about you, though.
Wow, that makes me feel
All
excellent.
good. It was all
That's
good.
not
Originally, I was
too
just
bad.
gonna meet with
Can-
Gary.
Can I add to that?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I mean, Holly has established a really good relationship with the North District, with Weeder County, with Sherman County. And I think there's we regionalize a lot of things out here for costs. And that is a possibility, but, and our South Health District is more than willing to kind of assess this and look at costs and stuff. That was attempted, I don't know, a couple of years ago maybe. But we were unable to get statistics. We were unable to get costs of services that are current.
Mhm.
So if the court did decide to move forward with this, we would need some assistance in probably gaining those statistics,
Getting some
that
data.
information and stuff.
Okay.
But I think, Holly and Dave meet and talk, and so, there is good coordination between the clinics, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Something to put on the radar.
Yeah. Dewey and I talked a little bit about, setting up a road tour. I think that we're tentative date of like June 26th. It's a Wednesday. I told Dewey that I would be in favor of a half a day, like try to do north end for south end,
Oh, yeah.
not a big, huge.
I think that'd be good.
All day
Yeah,
thing.
not an all day, all
Yes.
over the county.
And so we're kind of, if everybody likes that day, we're kind of trying to tentatively setting up, and Dewey said that if everybody likes that, then he will move forward with putting together a route,
Okay.
and.
I think,
I put it on my calendar.
I'm pretty
I
sure I have
did
it on
too.
mine too.
I did
so.
too. I had a question about when do we, and I don't know if we normally do it, but for some reason I was thinking that it should be around this time of year, and like I said, I can't remember, and I couldn't find anything going back through the, on the website, but do we normally have like an audit report?
It's usually in the,
Yes, we did not have one. You have to request it. We didn't request it. And part of that, I think, was the transition where we changed auditors. I think the old auditor didn't volunteer it, and we didn't ask for it, so it didn't happen.
Okay.
Not to say that it can't happen. We did have, during the audit, we did have a sit down with them, with Judge Schaefer, myself, and a couple of department heads. And they ran through what they had so far, and I can certainly get that to you.
Would you like
as
us
far-
to try to request one?
Well, as far as, I guess, since you've sat through, did you think there was anything that we needed to hear about? Because like one audit report we had, there was some things that they wanted us to sign a resolution that we were going to do better on a couple things. And so I didn't know, did anything come out of it that was?
Well, we did get the written response, the audit with the explanations, and there are several items on there.
And I have that sitting right on next to my chair, but I haven't got through it all yet. But yeah, I didn't know if there was somebody who was going to come and just kind of summarize it for us, or if maybe it is just the transitional
I
thing.
think it might be the transition, unless you really want it, which we could.
No, because I'm
Go
sure
back,
they'll
'cause-
come. I'm sure they'll come next year and.
Oh, yeah.
do it.
and if it's there,
They
we'll
have
see it
feedback,
again,
I'm sure we'll
right?
get it.
New people. I have a budget committee meeting for the North Central Public Health District next week. It's going to be all afternoon. And I think that's about it. I thought about during the meeting about maybe talking a little bit more about that budget resolution, just to tell you guys what I was kind of getting at, because I hadn't got warmed up yet that early in the meeting.
Mhm.
But we're kind of on a tight time frame, so we better move on.
There's plenty of time to raise it.
Okay,
between
I got
now
all
and the
year.
next budget.
Right. Okay, I'm done.
Sherry?
Okay, I attended a Norcor budget meeting on the 18th of April. The staff had gone back after the first meeting and kind of restructured what they had presented from what the board and what the budget committee had reviewed, and so it was a little easier to understand. We are in, I'm doing it. We are a little bit in limbo Wasco County is waiting for Hood River's decision on what they're going to see happening with their budget. So we will come back to that. We have another budget meeting next Tuesday, the 7th.
How many do you get to have?
We're going to get to have as many as it takes to get it done.
It's gonna be more than one, I
It's going to
think,
be a
huh?
lot, yeah, because it's a whole new structure, because they broke out, instead of just the one budget, they have general, adult side and a juvenile. It's easier to understand, I think I liked it. It was just, there were some things that they didn't see that needed to be tweaked a little bit. And so now we're kind of in limbo with what Hood River's going to do as far as their money situation goes. We also have a board meeting coming up at the end of May for Norcor. And then I had my list, the EDA email, but we already talked about that. And you all have a copy of this CAPECO letter that we received regarding the Emergency Solutions Grant Certification of Local Government Approval for Nonprofit Organization receiving ESG funds from the state of Oregon. That's a mouthful. They want us to complete the enclosed certification form and return it to them for to garner funds from Oregon Housing and Community Services for the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. The allocation is designed by a prescribed percentage to the service of case management, rapid rehousing, homeless prevention, housing stabilization, data collection, and homeless system capacity building. And the funds can also be used for shelter and street outreach. So if in the consensus is we want to support CAPECO in there,
I say sign it.
we will do so.
Yeah, I'm okay. A-okay with you signing it.
All right, we will do so. And I believe that's all I have. We went to county college. Did we go to county college since we had our last meeting?
Go to county college all the time.
We're in county college all the time. It's like real college some days.
Well, it was only 2 days. It was only 2 half days, but it was very fun and interesting. And I carpooled with Kathy Schwartz, a new commissioner from Wasco County. And so we had, she's also on the Norcor board, so we had a chance to do some exchanging of ideas and on our trip down and back, which was really good. And I met Joan Bird, who is the new commissioner appointed for Sherman County. I'm hoping that maybe she and I can carpool to the next one, county college in May, so that we can do some visiting and networking and not stop too many times. And I attended the Frontier Element meeting, which was very important. I'll let you expand on that. There was something else I was gonna, the Tri-County meeting. Tri-County court meeting, Sherman Wheeler was in tomorrow, and I attended that as well. And I'm going to let you report all of your stuff on that.
Okay. I can do that. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. So a couple things. I've got, one, this would normally be the time of year that we would do our volunteer appreciation dinner or whatever.
Right.
I am going to suggest that we hold off on it until we get our administrative assistant hired and task that individual with coming up with a plan and bringing it back to us. So
Sounds good.
I just wanted to flag that in case you're wondering why we're not doing volunteer appreciation this month. County fee schedules, there is an effort underway that I just wanted to make you aware of between Sandy and our treasurer and some of our other departments to actually come up with fee schedules for various documents and things that are requested from us, and just the whole litany of things that we charge fees on. So Nathan is in the process of doing that. I think Sandy's kind of
Right.
coordinating that.
And one of the big things is the shelter station fees, so
Oh,
I'll
right.
get with you on that.
Okay.
And it's just make sure we're updated and, at current market values for things.
And one of the things I think going forward that we probably, just to make sure we're standardizing this and making sure that is that just when we pass the budget, right around the same time, we look at the county fee schedule and just make sure that that's, and so those are always, my hope is that every year those will just always be in concert. We'll look at the fee schedule, we'll pass the budget, we'll do the salary schedule, all of those kind of within the same quarter timeframe. That sounds good. Okay, Cultural Coalition, this is a request. Originally, the Cultural Coalition was housed in here. We staffed it, I think, out of when Michelle Colby was the community development. I think it ran actually through her office. And then it went, the Cultural Coalition actually hired somebody, Leslie Hammer, to do it. She's interested in giving that back to us if we're interested. And so Nathan had talked to me about maybe just even housing that in the treasurer's office with the rest of our grants. It's technically our grant that we receive to disperse. And so anyway, I thought I would raise that and see if there's any objections to us bringing that back in-house, if Kelly's okay with managing it.
Treasurer's office is for it then.
Yeah, that was Nathan's suggestion, so I'll circle back with him and just double check that Kelly's okay with that and all of that, but I wanted to raise that. This is another thing just to flag, we'll have more information in a future, but the Transportation Department has begun discussions with the city of Condon. They have a Ward Street shop that is empty right now, and so Marla has been talking with them about the possibility of using it as sort of a second vehicle to park some of the transportation, or second building to park some of the transportation.
And where is this?
It is behind City Hall.
It's directly behind City Hall.
Okay.
So I'm just flagging that. I don't have details on all of that. I'm putting that up there that I have also asked Marla to look at putting together sort of a 5-year vision or transportation plan, because I personally like to see where all of these, she's got tons of projects and ideas, and so I think it'd be helpful for us to kind of have a plan and a timeline for things that, and make sure that we're on the same page with her about where the transportation department is going and what, I mean, most of everything she does is grant driven, so that's the great thing, but I think it's also, it's so important, I think, to our constituents. I think a lot of people really use it and value it, but making sure that we're on the same page with her about sort of the vision for it and what we can expect down the road, and a little bit more planning and sort of strategic investments as we go. So I'm just flagging it. That will be coming back to us possibly at the next meeting even, so that you know. The other thing is I am moving forward based on our last conversation on some discussions with the city about potential partnerships on our fiber that's coming in. And so you can expect, depending on what the council says and their interest, maybe coming back and beginning a discussion about whether an IGA with the city for co-location sort of shelters, whether we want to look at going in together for an entity who can manage the fiber leases on both entities' behalf, those kind of things, so that we're not duplicating efforts, and so that we're sort of consistent in what both entities are charging, so we're not undercutting each other and things like that, so that there's just a little bit more coordination. So I'm expecting to bring back more information depending on what the council talks about tonight. So, and then final thing, just an update on building codes, and this relates to Tri-County Court, is that Scott Hagee from Wasco County was at Tri-County Court last week, kind of gave us a rough proposal for what Wasco County is thinking with building codes, that they would start July 1, they would carry forward the fees that were being charged previously, but that this is kind of their test year to see what the fee structure would look like, and that they would likely make adjustments as they go. And then I also just wanted to let you know that I have started a conversation with the city of Boardman, who runs building codes for Morrow County. So over there, the city of Morrow has the building codes, and Morrow County contracts with the city of Boardman to provide them. So I have started a discussion with Karen Pettigrew, who's the city administrator over there, to see if they might have an interest potentially in taking on a second county partner. And we have traded voicemails, so I don't have any more details, but I just wanted to flag that before we necessarily assume that Wasco County is the only game in town, I thought it was prudent to see if there are other partners in the area that, and with Boardman's proximity in particular to Arlington and where a lot of our building activity happens, that partnership might in the end make more sense. So anyway, I will have more on that.
And in addition to that, there's still the reserves that are for building codes that are sitting there that belong to
no one.
Everyone.
No one and everyone at the same
Everyone
time.
and no one, and we're not sure
I mean,
who. We're still trying to sort that out as well. I don't.
Yeah. Sandy did, he has been spent the last probably 2 days on phone calls with about a dozen people or close to, trying to track down the dissolution papers from McCog, and we finally got them today. And they basically are completely silent on who's actually in charge of the money. So beyond just saying the counties need to agree, and that Wasco County isn't supposed to spend it until the counties agree, in essence. Like
They're just supposed to hold on to it.
So one of the things that Sandy raised, and I think it's worth bringing here, is whether we just want to sort of memorialize for Wasco County our expectation that that money not be touched until there's a resolution amongst the counties about what to do with the funds. Because if they're planning on July 1 starting their building codes, and you're not planning on paying for it out of their general fund, it kind of begs the question, how are they funding that in the interim until they actually have fees coming in? And my hunch is that they're ready to pull it out of those reserves. So,
which they really can't touch.
They shouldn't, but I think we probably need to put that reminder to them in writing from us about what our expectation is. So if you guys are okay with that, I think we'll draft a letter and bring it back for the next meeting to review and send a letter to our partners about our expectations. So there are no misunderstandings about those reserve funds.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Can there also be a request in that about asking, what I had curious, and Sandy brought it up at the Tri-County Court meeting, is where is that money and where is it held and how is the interest being taken care of? Because if you're talking about $4 million, you're talking about a lot of interest over the last year.
Right.
So it'd be really nice to know that they aren't touching.
That it's not paying for their general fund expenses?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we can.
Where is it truly at?
Yeah. So we'll Sandy and I'll work and get something drafted for the court but that's a good point. We'll ask that question on interest.
Judge, along with that, I'd suggest too, you might want to look at the previous Tri-County Court meeting minutes or record of it, because I think, Sandy, if I'm recalling correctly, Commissioner McCoy made a presentation somewhat probably similar to what Commissioner Hagee did. But he touched upon just those points, you know, what the dollars were, who held them. I can't remember, but I think they're in, well, I better not say, but I would encourage you to look at the record.
Yeah. The tricky thing is they asked the state to look at those reserve funds and give their recommendation. And so I think Commissioner McCoy has sort of bought into their methodology, and I'm not sure that we necessarily need to accept the methodology that the state used in calculating that, because they only took a snapshot of it and really didn't look at what was happening with our wind development prior to that snapshot. So I think we're being shorted in the state's assessment.
And in my discussions with Chris Huntington at State Building Codes, he made it clear that it was not the state's place to make that decision. They only did it because Wasco County asked them to. And you can tell he wasn't comfortable with it.
Okay. All right. So more on building codes, but we are starting discussions now, which I think is beneficial for the public to know and others to know that it's not just languishing, that we're trying to sort out what options the county may have. So, all right, anything else for court reports? Announcements.
All right, so special projects applications are open now, due by 5 PM on the 14th. Our next meeting is the 15th, 1 PM at the Emergency Services Building, because there's a circuit court trial going on. The Oregon Department of Energy Montague Wind Project public hearing is on the 16th at 5:30 PM at Lori's Place here in Condon. County College, the 17th and 18th. Frontier Telnet budget meeting, 10 AM here at the courthouse on the 23rd, followed at 1 PM by the regular Frontier Telnet meeting. Still waiting to hear back from the Metro representatives about doing the tour, but sometime in June. There is the Veteran Benefit Resource Fair on June 8th at 9 AM at Earl Snell Park, which sounds like it's really starting to shape up. A lot of vendors, a lot of services going to be there. And then the Frontier Telnet budget meeting will be on June 12th at 1 PM again here at the courthouse.
Lots to do.
And in that, you already told our next meeting. So, next meeting is May 15th, Emergency Services Building, 1 PM. Any other? All right, I'll adjourn it.